He's joining us now from Columbus, Ohio, home of the Buckeyes, great college football program. So Justin Fields, I said the other day, I said, man, if I'm Justin Fields, I'm not sure if I want to play in January, February, March, and then turn around and have the combine and the draft. I'm not sure. And then he goes out and does a petition. So obviously he's all in. What did you make of the petition by Justin Fields? It kind of caught me off guard because if he would have opted out, I would have totally understood.
Well, I would have understood it too. And if I'm Ryan Day, I would never ask Justin Fields to be part of a season that's in the spring or the winter because I wouldn't want to jeopardize his future. But I think, the players are finding their voice, and Justin decided to use his voice and his stature within the game of college football to take a stand for something that not only he believes in, but many college football players believe in, especially in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten.
Yeah. What do you make of spring football, Chris? You were a very physical guy. Like I could justify it. I could say, okay, we're going to play January, February, first week of March, no spring ball, light cardio only summer workouts, then fall and football. That feels right for a 20-year-old athlete. Your body recovers quickly. But you tell me, could you play January, February, early March, and then play again in September?
I think it's smart for the FCS schools and maybe some of the non-Power 5 conferences to try to pull off some type of spring schedule. I think if you're talking about a program like Ohio State or Penn State or Michigan, and you have guys that are interested in playing in the NFL, I would advise against it. I just think that's a lot of football to play pads in over an 8-month period. The problem that they have, Colin, is you think about it. If you don't play a game since 2019, the next game you play in, a real game where there's action and other guys hitting you from other teams, is going to be in an NFL training camp. You're going to be behind those guys from the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12 that hopefully will have a chance to play this year.
Yeah. I said this. My daughter, although athletic kid, is a non-college athlete. I would feel better if she roomed with a college athlete because I know they're getting tested 4 times a week. Whereas the average college student, I don't trust them as much. I think there's a certain peer pressure when you're part of an athletic team to support your teammates and your coaches and be more responsible. I think the average college athlete is more responsible than the average college student. Is that a bunch of hooey, or do you buy that?
Well, I'm actually living it as a parent. My daughter, Macy, is a basketball player at Bowling Green. I couldn't wait for her to get up to Bowling Green, but I just would watch her behavior around the house and the responsibility that she was taking, not necessarily to protect us, although I'd like to think so, protect Dad, but I think to protect her teammates and the responsibility that she felt toward them being her best. And so she would eat dinner in a separate room, even though she didn't have to. She would wear a mask around the house, even though we were COVID-free around here. But she did it out of the respect for her teammates, and she understood the concept of sacrifice, and what you give will grow and what you keep you lose. She's been brought up and trained with that mindset that it's always about the team.
I just love that. I love to hear that story.
That's good parenting, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's but it's funny, this is the argument I've made. Joy was an athlete, and I do think a college athlete is more responsible because you feel a peer pressure. You don't want to let your teammates down. You don't want to let your coaches down. I mean, kids like to make their mentors and their parents happy most of the time, and I think there's a real pressure there that athletic kids live by, and your daughter's a great point of that. Now, I want to shift to the NFL. You live in Ohio. I've been tough on Baker Mayfield. The other day, he said, I lost myself. I didn't get to work out as much. And should I take that as maturity, or should I say, good Lord, he lost himself in year 2? How do you lose yourself? I get year 12, year 2. What do I take from Baker's comments?
Well, I think he's been humbled, right? And I think the other thing that has stunted Baker Mayfield's growth as a quarterback is he's going to be in his 3rd offense in 3 years. But if it is true what he's saying, if his actions back up his words, I do think he has the talent, and he has the number one physical attribute that I look in a quarterback. I don't know what everybody else is, but mine is accuracy. And he certainly has some weapons to throw the ball to, and a pretty good running back when healthy in Nick Chubb. So everybody wants Baker. I want Baker to do well. I root for all these guys. But you have to be, if you want to be great at that position, you have to be in my opinion, you have to be Tom Brady. where you got to commit totally to being an NFL quarterback, not just during the season or not just during OTAs, but that's a 365-day marriage right there. Every year, you got to commit to being your best every single day. That's the responsibility of a quarterback to a football team.
You know, Russell Wilson and Brady, to me, live that life. Drew, I remember one time I was at ESPN and it was like June and I'm working out in the gym and Drew Brees is next to me and he's on the air in about an hour. And I'm like, aren't you on the air? And he's like, I got to get a workout in. And I'm like, you got your Super Bowl. You're like 38 years old. Did you ever play with a guy in the NFL? And I know you were committed, but did you ever play with a guy that had some Brady qualities where you were like, oh my God, like he lives it, day, night, family? How many guys are like that?
I think probably I would say 30%, but a lot of them are the quarterbacks because they understand the value to the team and the position that they play. Just because I was like that and maybe 20 or 30% of the other guys were like that, there's more than one ways to get it done. But for me, I knew what worked for me. I know if I wanted to have my play at the highest level possible, I had to commit 365 days a year to being the best possible linebacker that I could be. If I did not do that, then I was not living up to the standard that I set for myself or that I set for my teammates. And I promised them that commitment. And I might have not have been the most liked guy on the team, Colin, but I guarantee you I was one of the most respected because I never changed.
Yeah. You know, speaking of not being liked, I see these old NFL films and Aikman's barking at guys and Peyton Manning's barking at guys.
Yeah, I know.
And it's interesting. There's been some reports that Cam Newton, was not barked at in Carolina and Belichick's a barker. And that, Tom Brady could deal with it. Tim Duncan could deal with it. A lot of people don't want to be yelled at in front of their teammates. And I've said this before. I know people inside that Carolina organization, and they told me Cam is tough. He plays hurt all the time, but criticism publicly may not be great. Did you play? Your thoughts about Cam in New England and in that situation, and did you play with guys who were more sensitive? The public criticism from the coach didn't land right.
Yeah, I think Cam is a unique story because Cam is at a crossroads. And so what worked for Cam before may not work for Cam now. So Cam may be open to being coached differently. From my own personal experience, Wayne Fontes would threaten to send me home on a bus if I would touch or hit Barry Sanders in practice again. And Wayne Fontes and I are from the same hometown, and he played against my dad. So I get all that. But I think Cam right now is all he wants to do is to get better. And if players, and this is a pet peeve of mine, and kids today, if we lessen and not hold players and even children that are athletes or high school players that are football players or basketball players, if we don't hold them to the standard that they set, then we are doing a disservice. My opinion of Cam, he's an MVP quality type guy, but can he come back from the injuries? And I think Cam understands that this is my shot. And if Belichick's going to yell at me, he can yell at me all he wants because all I want to do is win. And certainly Bill Belichick has that track record of winning Super Bowls.
It is interesting. Cam's been beat up physically. And again, he's played through a lot of injuries. If I recall, you had a neck injury where you basically couldn't play. When you get to be an older player, you still want to play in the games. It is interesting because I got some old quarterbacks here. And the reason they've lasted is because they haven't gotten hurt a lot. For the average, I saw Gerald McCoy is now going to be out for the year. When you're 33, 34, you're getting older and you're playing NFL football. Does your body tell you it's over, or do you have to be talked into it? Like you were, I think, more severe. Your neck injury was more severe, but you saw a lot of guys that just dropped out that could have played. What is the psychology for a Cam or an older player that's taken a lot of hits?
The psychology for me came from our great philosopher of our time, Bill Laimbeer. When Bill Laimbeer retired, Bill Laimbeer said, I am despising myself. I don't want to become the player that I despise. So if you're intellectually honest with yourself and you're watching film of yourself, you know what you're doing well and you know what you're not doing well. So that's when you have to make an individual choice and decision. Am I just hanging on to hang on, or I got to be honest and I can't do it anymore. So I think a lot of guys go through that within themselves and emotionally to make that decision. And once they accept reality, usually guys make the right decision based on the fact that they don't want to become a player that they despise.
Yeah. A lot of guys quit the NFL and they don't lift weights anymore. You look like you still lift weights. You still lift?
Well, yeah, I'm a big health fanatic. I mean, you know a little bit about my family's history, and I want my kids to be healthy and, if at all possible, to live a healthy lifestyle. So, like anything, Colin, my actions need to solidify my words. You know, I'm not going to go tell my daughter to get in there and give me 10 miles on a Peloton if I haven't done 10 miles myself. And so I think that's the way, in my opinion. That's one way to lead, that your actions solidify your words.
You know, that's why I don't buy a Peloton, because then I would have
exactly.
Yeah. So I just avoid that Peloton thing from the very beginning. Chris Spielman, Fox Sports NFL analyst. Great seeing you. Look great. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Oh, thank you, brother. Anytime. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Chris Spielman. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.